So Becca, welcome to the show. How's everything with yourself?
Everything is good. Picking up again here, so kind of getting back to normal, semi-normal life.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Like, we've not had a pre-chat before this conversation. We've just jumped on and hit record. But dude, I miss you. You're a big part of culture over here.
Yeah, I know. I'm dying to get back. I actually thought I was going to be able to get back August time. And then actually I probably didn't tell you. They told me that I can't get back with the business visa. So I have to wait until it's opening up to foreigners again. So it's fine. I don't mind waiting, but that means I probably won't get back till October now.
It's just good to see everything opening up. I mean, even though it's happening in dribs and drabs all over the world, I think Ireland's getting more and more open up now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be everything back on the 20th of July. And Friday they just announced it's on Monday. So everything's been brought forward a month. So everyone was kind of like, oh, how do I process that everything is going back to normal? Apart from going into an office, which wouldn't have affected me anyway, everything, gyms, restaurants, pubs, if you're serving food, which most won't, they'll just probably just serve pints and packet of crisps and try and classify that as food. But it is good. Cinemas, everything really. Just as long as we have social distancing, we still have to keep the 2 meters. Masks are recommended, but they're not, set in stone. Just if it's in public transport or in a supermarket or something like that. So I don't mind staying here until whenever I get back, because now we can have a summer. Yeah. So I don't mind, but I obviously miss my life over there. But I don't mind because it's like when I get back, that's it then for a long stint until I come back again.
Look, we can't wait to get you back anyway. But I just find it crazy. Like, it's probably a good person to chat to actually with you being in Europe. But I just find it crazy how I'm looking in. I've seen the biggest petitions, I think, out of everyone have been to get fitness, wellness and mental centres open. All that sort of stuff. But the first thing that they've opened is the pubs. You know what I mean? It's just madness. Absolute madness.
People, that is their coping mechanism is a few pints. It's not, the healthiest one, but I think really the main thing is that, especially here, Ireland is, a social, everything is friendly and social. So, and a lot of that is in the pubs. Yeah. So it mightn't be that everyone wants a few pints, but it's more that they want to see their friends. That's the biggest thing I've struggled with, is just not being able to see my friends, especially when a lot of them live in the UK and stuff. Usually when I'm home, I spend a small amount of time in Ireland and the rest of it is kind of going over and back to London. So that's been taken away from me now this time. Now I'm just back in Ireland and it's like, oh, okay, well, I've a small handful of friends that are actually in Ireland. So it's not like, now it's like, okay, I can go out and meet people, but there's only a small selection of people I can meet up with.
Yeah. I tell you what, Becca, what I want to do, because obviously we've just hit record straight off the back of this. There's a little bit of a conversation I want to go into because I don't know this about you. Now, I was on my little travels around the world, kind of meeting people, working, all that sort of stuff. And I bump into you in a Mexican with a margarita. And the friendship blossomed, so to speak. But one of the biggest things that I love about you, and I think this is one of the main things that I want to drive home with this show, I know you're helping a lot of women globally with what you do within not just fitness, but also in their emotional health, the mental health, the mindset, the lifestyle, which I know from what we do ripples into absolutely every single area of life. But with every single person who's new to the show, we always love to find the story, because usually the reason why someone does what they do lies and is intertwined in the personal backstory. And when I was thinking, I was like, I want to get back on the show to speak about this, but I actually don't know your backstory. And the more I keep watching your stories, I'm like, right, she's a dancer, raver, she's got this party background. how did it all unfold, and how did you get into this inspirational, like looking after yourself and like wisdomatic life? So Becca, what is the story of you? How did you go from where you are in Ireland, Galway, to where you are now? And how on earth did you get it to a point where you're impacting, you're influencing, you're helping people all over the world? I would love to know that story from you before we jump into the show.
Yeah, I guess it is quite long, but I do try to cut it down as much as I can.
The main bits.
Yeah, I guess I always had this idea when I was doing my leaving cert, or kind of the equivalent of the A levels, that I never wanted to go to uni. And because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, like most people when they're 17, I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do. I'm the eldest child in my family, so naturally my parents were like, "You're going to college or uni, whatever you call it, in the UK." And so then I was like, "Oh, well, I really don't want to go." Long story short, I ended up going and doing a degree that I thought I would be interested in, and
What was
wasn't
it?
it was music, media, and performance technology, but it was kind of a roundabout way of saying computer science.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously, you'll know I'm into music, so and dancing and that. So I was like, well, this is the one that kind of fits. It was also in Limerick, which is, about an hour and a half away from Galway. So, at that time I wanted to get out of Galway. I was always really independent. I had a car as soon as I was 17. I was driving to school and stuff. So I always just kind of wanted to continue that independence. So I ended
What was
up
the first car? Vauxhall Corsa?
No, it was a Toyota Corolla.
Ooh.
It cost me about €900. It was terrible, but it worked. So yeah, I ended up doing the degree anyway, and I knew after literally the first semester there was computer programming and everything. I was like, this is not for me. I thought it was going to be like, learn how to DJ, a bit of dance and drama maybe. So my attitude is very much, once I start something, I'm going to finish it, even if I don't like it. It's just naturally the way I am. So I finished it anyway. But, after the first couple of weeks, even not liking the curriculum and the academic side of things, I really enjoyed the social life and the friends that I made there. So that kind of kept me there. If I didn't make friends and if I didn't like living away from home and having my own life, I don't think I would have lasted. I would have had to accept that I would have had to drop out. So I finished that degree, and all the way knowing that this isn't for me, but finishing it anyway, making friends along the way. Moved back to Galway. I ended up working in doing events and managing nightclubs and things like that. And that was very much more me. It was very much more my personality. But then I was kind of like, oh, I'm working till 4 a.m, then I have to go back into the office for 9 or 10, and just, I'm working every weekend as well. So then it was the other way around, where I was around people all the time, but I was working. So my social life was taken away, and I was only 21. Yeah. So I need to get back into living my life again after doing this 4 years of what I hated anyway. So I gave that up, and I kind of hit a bit of my first midlife crisis at 21. And I ended up being what am I actually doing? I've just wasted 4 or 5 years, not really getting anywhere. I always had this idea that by the time I'm 27, I'll probably be at top level of something, probably be engaged. And really,
all of society's tick off boxes: a dog, a house. Yeah,
exactly. And I realized,
that's such a big thing in Ireland as well.
Expectations. Yeah. You're supposed to follow a certain path, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But after that, so I was kind of right, I need a bit of direction, because I know what I don't want, but from doing the 4 years, but then I didn't really know where I was going, didn't know what to do. So I went to a career guidance person, and you know the way they do all those personality tests and stuff. And
is it the one where they tell you what you'd be best suited to?
Yeah, there was lots. It was intensive. Now there's a lot of tests. I had to go to Dublin for it, which was like 3 hours away at the time. But anyways, the top 10 things that she came up with were all helping careers like medicine, nursing, occupational therapy, physio.
Or like service based.
Yeah, but helping practitioner type things. So I was like, okay. And she was like, I think you should go and do medicine. And I was like, I'm not doing another 6 years. No. And then she was like, right, you should do nursing. And I always considered nursing as a vocation, you know, like you just know that you want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to do nursing either. And then I had told her that I wanted to get out of Ireland, that I was, you know, ready to get to another country, city, whatever it was. So she told me that I could do children's nursing on its own in London. And I think I probably went for these tests during the summer, and the course, or maybe it was around Christmas time, but the course started in March. So it meant I didn't have to wait until the usual course start dates the following September. And it was my ticket out of Ireland to go to London. And I'm really good with kids. I've always been really good with kids. So if it gets me out of having to do adult nursing, I'm going to do it, try it. Because she says, I'm good at this. She says, I'm going to be good. She says, this course is starting in a few months. So off I went. I did 3 years of children's nursing, and I actually really enjoyed it. And, you know, I'm 24 at this point, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm figuring out, you know, this one is for me. I'm really good at it. Again, I moved to London. I get to make more friends. A lot of my friends were there already. So I kind of had a social circle, but again, we made that even bigger. And then once I actually ended up working full-time as a nurse, I had started getting into the gym and stuff like that. And I realized that there was kind of a direct contradiction with what I valued, which at the time and still is kind of health and just being healthy, eating well and getting good sleep. And then I'm doing nursing, working a lot of nights, and access to food in the hospital isn't good. So I'm there like, oh, I'm really enjoying the job of a nurse, you know, the actual skills. But this is it's
taking away from you.
Yeah, it's affecting my mental and physical health. And I really started to struggle again, because I was like, I've just done another 3 years again. And now I know that even though I'm good at this job and I do like the skills, and I know that you have to be really skilled to do intensive care, it's not aligning with me looking after myself as a person. I was putting looking after other people as a profession before looking after myself. So I had my second midlife crisis at like 27, 6 maybe. And then I decided, oh, you know, like it was then that I really kind of had a light bulb moment where I was like, I'm trying to follow the path that everyone thinks I should be following, and everyone thinks, you know, everyone is telling me I should be following. And
I totally feel you.
Yeah, in the middle of all of these courses, you know, I was doing the first one, and then I was like so young, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. I knew I wasn't good at that first degree.
I'd love to ask you as well, just on that note, just from your own experience, it sounds like me and you've kind of got like a bit of a parallel story when it comes to this. Were you in the position where like all of your friends were kind of in there, like getting into their jobs, getting secure, they were doing the whole house thing, getting dogs, having children, like everyone was kind of getting into their perfect box? and like you were still struggling to find which one you
Job,
wanted to go, or
career-wise, well, actually, a lot of my immediate circle of friends repeated their leaving cert. So actually only 3 or 4 of us went off to uni that year, but I didn't care. I studied so hard in 5th and 6th year to make sure that I wouldn't have to repeat because I hated school. So, but a lot of my friends repeated. So I went off to college or uni on my own, and all my other friends stayed in Galway for uni.
yeah,
So I was actually ahead. They stayed behind. They were still in school when I went into my first year of uni. At the end of that first degree, a lot of them kind of they had finished their degree, and yeah, they were in jobs that followed that degree, but they enjoyed them. So
yeah,
I was like, right, what's wrong with me? But I wasn't good at what I was doing. So I'm obviously not going to feel very confident when I'm not, I failed every year of that uni. I had to repeat the summer exams. I didn't ever have to repeat a year, but I had to repeat the summer exams, which meant all my summers were studying. But at the same time, I kind of kept up jobs, like kind of part-time jobs that kept me sane. So I was teaching dancing, teaching hip hop and salsa 2-3 nights a week, and it was good money. So I was like, right, okay, this is my hobby. It's my way to escape. And, it was kind of following the line of looking after myself exercise wise. So then going back to when I was in London, having this point again where I'm like, okay, this is like the 3rd or 4th time when I've started something, and this time I actually was good at the job. I was very good at the job, and I'm compassionate, and it does suit my personality, but it was just a direct contradiction of everything that I was trying to work on with regards to my own health and well-being. So while trying to figure out what I was going to do this time, working full-time as a nurse, I started doing my personal training course, just as a side thing. Again, when I'm struggling like that with something, it's always exercise that kind of helps me cope with things, stress or whatever it is. So I decided I'm going to do my personal training course and just get that. It was for me. I wasn't even thinking at the time about a career. I just wanted to learn more about technique and food and stuff like that. So I did my personal training course, and I started to have try to think about, okay, could I actually do this as a career? Because at the time it was the only thing that was bringing me any sort of joy, because I was working nights. Again, the whole antisocial thing, I needed to make more money, which means I had to do the unsocial hours. So it meant that my social life again was reduced by a lot. It wasn't taken away from me completely, but seeing people, nobody's going to be off on a Wednesday and go want to do something because they're in the office job. So I got to the point where this was my biggest struggle with mental health. I was like, mostly because I was thinking, what are people going to think of me now? This is the 3rd or 4th time. It's my 2nd time at uni. It's my 4th or 5th certificate. But I just got so fed up, looking back retrospectively now, I just got so fed up of trying to fit into the mold. And I was just like, it was really, really, really affecting my mental health. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. I don't care what I'm going to do with my life. I will go and work in a supermarket as long as I'm happy. I don't care what it is. And really, I actually knew that when I was 17. I knew I didn't want to go to uni. And if I didn't go, I probably would have figured out along the way, maybe doing the dancing job or whatever it was, that, okay, this is the route I want to take. I probably would have figured it out. But then at the same time, you kind of have to take all these wrong turns to end up where you are today. So it's kind of like, it's a lot of years making wrong turns, but now I'm like, okay, maybe it was worth it. So
was going to say the thing that I'm loving about your story is there's a Steve Jobs quote is you can only connect the dots looking backwards, which will make you move forwards. It's like that's your exact thing. It's like I took a wrong turn, but I found out here that I like inspiring people, impacting people. These are my values. These are the work values I can't do. So the next chapter is going to be this barrier or this boundary. Let's go again.
So move back to Galway. We're getting there now. Moved back to Galway. I spent my last €200 on all this kind of clearance equipment in some sports shop, wherever it was. Maybe it was Argos.
Yeah.
Kettlebells, sandbags, all that sort of thing. And I don't know, I didn't plan to do that. I just bought it because it was on sale. And I had really enjoyed exercising at the time. So I ended up being, thinking I'm going to set up some free boot camps in Galway because, it's still helping people. I enjoy it. And I still wasn't sure whether I wanted my hobby to be my career yet because I didn't want it to take away from the enjoyment of exercising. So I started setting up boot camps and they were flying it. I never charged for them ever. Every week there'd be more and more people. I only lasted a couple of weeks in Galway before I kind of was like, right, get me out of here, because Galway is just not a good place for me to live long term. So I moved up to Dublin again. I had no job, brought all that equipment, started doing the free boot camps on the beach in Dublin. There was like 150 people at the boot camps at one time. I was doing nursing agency shifts, which I could earn like €450 if I just did one night shift. So I kind of did it just to get money in while I was figuring out what I wanted to do. And then I ended up working part-time in a gym. But those boot camps, I realized, people are really enjoying these because I'm really enjoying these. And they can see that I'm excited, I'm enthusiastic. They can, they're learning from it. It's good for your mental and physical health. And then I decided, right, I need to go full time with this fitness thing. So that's when I started doing my personal training. I did my MAC nutrition course, my precision nutrition course, and I just kept building and building from there. So as soon as I kind of just decided enough is enough, I've done 10 years of trying to slot into this kind of framework and it didn't work for me, and it made me more and more unhappy every time I continued with it, to the point that I had, honestly, when I say 2 or 3 midlife crises before I'm 30, I genuinely mean that. So once I kind of just said, no, I'm doing my own thing and I don't care what anyone thinks anymore, then that's when everything kind of fell into place. And I kind of just continued it from there. I moved online because I had a bit of a following on Instagram. And once my income from the online coaching was more than my face-to-face personal training, that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to move again, because I don't like staying in one place for too long anyways. And that's when I moved to Bali. And the only reason I'm back here at the moment is the whole coronavirus thing. But I'm happy where I am at the moment. And it kind of doesn't really, the weather makes a difference and my circle of friends, but it's fine at the moment. I'm working on my business and I'll get back there, over the next couple of weeks or months or whatever it is. So long story shortish, that's how I got to where I am today, with lots of other things in between.
Look, I love it. There's so many different correlations. I think I've had a very similar thing to you, a very similar story, so to speak. But I think it's such a common one, especially. I think it's now. Usually say it used to happen when people actually got to the end of the checklist, where it's like people got married, then people had the kids, and then suddenly it was like, oh God, I filled all of the boxes. What's next? I've done nothing that I wanted to do. I've put my dreams on hold. I've put my passions. So a lot of people get that, but I actually feel like now it's starting to move to a lot younger. I think I got affected by that. I know from your story you did. What I'd love to know from you on this is because what I was saying before is every time you felt lost, you looked back, you reflected, you found out the things that made you happy, the things that you loved doing, and then you made another step forwards into them. Even though it might not have been the right step, but it served you at that time to get more feedback to go again. Now, I know you help a lot of women globally. And I also know from this podcast that there's a lot of people that get into that position. Now, for you, I'd love to get your, from your actual story on this. What were the things that you just followed that got you on the right path? Was it intuition? Was it you followed excitement, happiness? What were the things that made you kind of go, do you know what? I've got to hit the reset. I've got to go to Bali. There's something calling me to do something. What was that?
I guess along the way, even from when I was really, really young, I've always been really, really independent. And this is why working for someone else never worked. Even if I enjoyed the job, I'm just like, no, like I just want to make my own decisions. So freedom of, everything to do with how I set up my day, what schedule I want to do, what hours I want to do, where I want to go with my business. I think they're the main things. Obviously, I love traveling as well, but I've built up so much resilience along the years with all the mistakes. Most of the things were mistakes. Even something I've done over the past couple of weeks here has been a mistake, and I'm learning from that again with work. So I know everyone needs a little bit of direction somehow with their business or with their life or whatever it is. And I always do take a little bit of guidance on that, but I am very much a big risk taker in everything I do. So when I'm thinking about the direction I want to go with my business, I don't really care if I make another mistake. Like, I'm 31 now. I've done so many mistakes at this point that I'm like, okay, so what if I make another one? Because I've gotten over all the other ones. I'm actually in a career that I love. I absolutely love my job. I'm really happy. So if I make a mistake, it's okay because I'm in the right place career-wise, mental health-wise. So that'd just be another bump in the road. So
I was speaking to someone at lunch, and they dropped this amazing quote, which was on this. It was like, I'd rather live a dangerous yet free life instead of living in a safe prison. And I was like, oh God, that's so true. It's like to go and do the things that you want to do always does take risk and some element of danger.
And exactly. And I was like, the first degree was 17. I didn't get to work for myself until 2018. Yeah. So 11 years of, plodding on, figuring out why I didn't fit the mold or whatever it was. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want to do because I don't want to hold back anymore and be wondering what could happen if I don't do this or if I do. I just do things. I'm just like, okay, I can deal with the setbacks if there's a setback because I'm on the right path now. And again, how would I have gotten to where I am today if I didn't make all those shitty mistakes for 11 years or still now? So since I was 17, really. But freedom is a massive thing for me, and being in charge of where my business is going. Yeah, I might need help with certain elements of my business, but my vision is the same. And the whole struggle of coronavirus for my business personally has only led to me coming up with more ideas and me being more creative. And I wouldn't have had that. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm so happy at the moment, even though I am back in Dublin. I had no plans to be back in Ireland. My life was in Bali. But if you're confident in yourself, even if your business is struggling or something in your life is causing, a big challenge, I am so confident in what I offer. I'm so confident in in myself, not cockiness. It's just confidence, and my level of self-worth, self-esteem, self-belief, self-concept is, still really high. So I don't really care if I'm having a couple of setbacks and challenges this time, because that's usually when I actually flourish the most. When I've got this big wall, I'm like, right, okay, I've got to get over it. How am I going to get over it? And that's when I'll come up with a good few more ideas.
Totally.
And actually, when things with business and life are going unbelievably well, with barely any flaws,
Hiccups.
yeah, I'm kind of like, there's something
Bored.
going wrong here, because I never ever want to get complacent with anything I do. And my work ethic, I've always, honestly, one of the things I want to be remembered for is being a really hard worker, and obviously being fun. And sometimes those things don't really go together, especially in the same sentence. But I kind of go through phases of working really, really hard, and then I'll let loose for a bit, and then working really hard and letting loose. But I've adapted to my life here in Ireland, and everything is fine. And I'll adapt again when I go back to Bali. Nothing much will change, but you've got to change as the years go on, especially if you're in a kind of sticky situation where you've, like you said, you've got the house, you've got the job, you've got the ring, whatever it is, and then you actually just stop one moment and you're like, okay, I've achieved all these things, but they're not happy within themselves. And then that's when there's a big problem, because you've spent your whole life kind of trying to shape a certain life. And I think expectations, when they're unrealistic, are just going to lead to huge, huge disappointment. So I don't really have any expectations of anything anymore. I just don't set them high. I just set them realistic, so that when something happens, I'm like, oh, right, okay, it's another setback, it's another challenge, and that's okay. Let's just get on with it,
Yeah. I mean, something that I want to kind of jump into here, and I think it can thread its way through that story. First things first, yeah, change. You need, like, with that sort of stuff, like adversity is always the best soil of growth. Yeah. But the other thing that I want to kind of go in with what you were saying before is, your confidence, like, you believe in yourself, your worth, your boundaries of when to think shut off. This is the reason I was like, I need to get Becca on the show. I've been to a lot of places. I have met a lot of people. I have seen a lot of speakers, celebrities, athletes, XYZ. Very rarely do I see someone with a level of confidence and belief that you have. And you're not even trying. It is effortless. You literally just do. Obviously, when we went out and it was kind of alcohol induced, got us into a bit of trouble. But just in terms of like life, I always say to like people, like, confidence is the biggest asset. Confidence and attention really are like two great assets. And I'd love to kind of speak to you about this, because I see so many people online. I see a lot of influential people who speak about confidence, yet when the cameras are switched off, it's not there. Or when you meet them in person, it's not there. With you, it's there, it's big, it screams. So with you, like, where does this come from? Like, because it is unshakable. Like, is there a portion of your story where you were low in confidence and you had to go through this process of building it? Or is it a case where like, what your barriers are, what you're gonna, do you know what I mean? What you're gonna settle for and stuff like that? Where does it come from?
I think as soon as, it goes back to the whole figuring out what I was, crap at, say with my first degree, I wouldn't have been, I don't know, I don't even remember if I was really confident when I was 17, 18. I probably was. I don't know. I can't really remember. But when you go into something with, again, the expectations, okay, my parents want me to go to uni, this is a music degree, or what I thought it was, I'm definitely going to be good at it, because I was good at music, and I am, I love music. And then when you go into something and actually, you end up hating it, it's not what you expected. I'm not engaged at 27. I have to do another degree. And then it's like, I think just figuring out along the way what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, realizing that everyone is crap at lots of things. Everyone is good at lots of things, and that's okay. For a long time, I struggled with the kind of people pleaser type personality, because when you're someone that likes helping people, it does sometimes lead you to be a type of people pleaser type personality as well. And it was only when I was really, really struggling with where I was going in life, everything just seemed to be falling apart. Probably at my lowest point, when I started doing those boot camps and seeing the energy that I got from it myself from doing it, but the people that I attracted by just doing what I wanted to do. And I was confident in the fact that I have a bubbly personality, so even at my lowest even at my lowest points, I still tried my best to have fun. And it's that long journey of self-discovery, and then when you get to breaking point, when you're like, I can't act like this certain way anymore. I can't pretend that I want to do XYZ for the rest of my life. Actually, I don't want to get married. Actually, I don't want to live in Ireland. And all of those things are absolutely fine. But it's hard when, especially in Ireland, when there is no alternative lifestyle, really. It's starting now, but at the time, nobody worked online. Nobody, had their own schedule. Nobody was able to work while they were on holidays. Everyone gets engaged before they're 30, or else you're weird. Why don't you want to have kids? And all of these sort of things that I was like, well, that's just what I want, and I'm happy now. So everyone can just piss off. Like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm happy, doing. And I spent so long trying to please everyone else. It didn't work, and this is the way I'm going to go. And when I went online, I was already past that stage. So I never started off with a little bit of a false persona. Actually, when I started Instagram was at my lowest point in London, when I started getting into the gym, started putting up recipes, started putting up workouts, mostly because I kept, I was so, my brain was so foggy with everything, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, that I was forgetting my workouts. I was forgetting what recipes I would make. And that's what I used my Instagram for at the start, just so that I could remember how to make this, what workout I did that day.
It's like Becca's fitness journal.
Yeah. And also, appearance-wise, I would have been you would have known by my face that I was struggling a bit. So everything I posted online was just the real me. And when you get a good reaction from that, obviously that's going to motivate you to keep doing that. So I always stayed very real on my Instagram. You won't see many photos that are professional. A lot of them are in my room. I don't know. I just got very comfortable within myself, finally finding this path that I was really excited about, and really, really comfortable being myself. So I just continued that, and then that just attracted people that really wanted that transparency, and people wanted that, wanted to find people online that were relatable and that weren't photoshopped and that were confident in their body, in, talking about struggles, talking about mental health, all these things that are just human. Because you can't really relate to the very polished profiles. So, yeah.
So again, flipping back to this story, I think one of the biggest things that we keep picking up on is how, like, when you stop trying to please other. By the way, have you read a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy? It's all about that, like trying to please people and all this. So it's a brilliant book. I think when a lot of people read it, it's like one of those that really does change the game. So that's No More Mr. Nice Guy for people reading. It's more towards men though, male people pleasers, but it can be read from the female perspective. With you, yeah, with you, like that seems to be the biggest thing. It's like once I got comfortable being myself, then suddenly I just dropped caring what people think. And I think it's a very peaceful place when you get to that realization, like, because you're not trying to please people, you're not trying to come up with this facade. But something that really, really stands its true with you as well is like online and stuff like that. There's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of trolls, you can have hate campaigns and things along the lines of that. Now, a lot of the time, people who would be in your position of influence, if that was the case, would be doing everything in their power to hide it, shut it down and stuff like that. And I gained so much respect for you when this happened and you just put it on there and you said, you know what? These people are doing this. It's like, this is out there. I'm just going to, like, it's not true, like X, Y, Z. And you kind of lent into it. And the way that I looked at it was like when Eminem just says all of these things about him, sort of like, yeah, so what? This is me, and what? And he removes the like ammunition of the people who were trying to throw stones. And it was exactly what you did. Now, how did you, like, with that sort of stuff, when that happens, there's a lot of people, especially online, I think social media really is kind of like amplifying fears and insecurities of people who care what people think. Like, how did you get to that point where it's like, whatever someone says about me, I just don't care. I'll either embrace it. It is what it is. Like, how do you get that?
That probably started again even before I was online. I probably had a lot of irrational thoughts about myself before I really figured out who I was. I know I was thinking, and this is probably why I continued trying to follow, be a sheep, because I was thinking, God, what are people going to think of me? I'm doing another degree. Okay, I did music, now I'm doing nursing. Then I did beauty therapy. Then I did, all these different things. And I remember so many times when I would be doing up my CV for years, I was like, they're going to think I'm an absolute freak with all these different directions that I've gone with, certs, jobs, like all sorts. I can't, a complete opposite end of the spectrum. And as I was kind of discovering who I really was, what my values were, figuring out that actually none of those things are true, and all that matters is what I think of myself and what I believe of myself, then that's when I really decided that actually all this stuff on my CV is a sign that I'm very resilient and that I'm trying. And I saw all these different areas that I was working in. It didn't matter if I didn't really like the job or the degree or the cert or whatever it was, because I would always pick up a skill. And that took me a while to kind of figure out that was okay. So all this time building on what I knew and believed about myself and what I was confident in, by the time cyberbullying came about and trolling came about, I could not care less what someone says about me, because the only opinion that matters is my own and how I see myself and what I believe about myself. And most of this trolling, it is a lot of false accusations and misinterpretations, or, whatever people are saying about you. But then a lot of the things, they could be talking about something that is true. And whether they have an opinion of me that doesn't agree with my opinion of myself, I don't really care, because, they could be talking about something I did in the past or the way I dress. They could be talking about things that are true. Mostly they are not true. But even if they are true, it doesn't bother me, because you know, it's going back to expectations. Like, you cannot expect that you will sail through life where everyone gets on with everyone agrees with
Yep.
everyone. You know, even if people say they like you, there's people that are saying it that are talking about you behind your back anyway. So it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of you as long as you believe in yourself. But it's when people don't have the confidence within themselves, that's when it'll start to affect them, because then they will start believing what trolls are saying about them, and that's when the downward spiral will happen. So the trolling stuff, a lot of people say, oh, Becky, you shouldn't highlight that. You know, it's only adding fuel to the fire. And a lot of the time, you know, I don't talk about it a lot of the time because I don't want to send people to certain websites and stuff where they can get involved. But a couple of weeks ago, you know, lockdown is hard. People have struggled with their mental health. I get so much positive feedback that I just thought, you know what, I'm actually just going to show people what is being said about me, because I get so much positive feedback that I know people will be like, what are people talking about? So I just highlighted a good few things that had been, you know, discussions that were saying things about me. Luckily, nothing was really said about my family, because I think that kind of would affect me. Again, whether they're true or not, it doesn't matter, but I wouldn't want anyone going after my family. That would kind of really piss me off, actually. So, but luckily they said nothing. So I kind of just said, I was just trying to highlight, look, this is what is said about me. Most people think I'm a good person. I'm not perfect, but I try to, you know, live my life with integrity. I try to help people. And this is what they're saying about me. So I still don't really understand the motivation behind the trolling. I know that people get involved in gossip forums and all that, and I know it's because, you know, they have low self-esteem. They just want to talk about their own problems. The way they are bitching about people and talking down about people, and, you know, really it's defamation of character, and there should be a legal way to get at them, but there isn't, because they've got aliases and all this. But I know that they're unhappy. I know that they've got no direction, and, you know, all the things that I would help people with, I could actually help probably all of the trolls. Some of them might not be, you know, they might have been gone too far to actually even realize that they need to work on themselves. But I was thinking about it recently after I put up those stories. I was like, is there like motivation that hopefully brands will start, you know, letting go of some influencers? Or what is the actual goal behind forums and talking about people, apart from to make themselves feel better? I don't actually know what the goal is. And I guess because I don't work with brands, I'm not sponsored by anyone, I don't do paid posts.
You've not sold your soul.
They can't take anything away from me work-wise, I suppose, but they also can't take anything away from me self-esteem-wise, because I know if I met one of those people on the street, they wouldn't say any of that stuff for me. Like, they're just hiding behind whatever new username they've used. But
I think when you actually look at the psychology of that sort of stuff, I think you're I know you're 100% right. It does come. You can't do that stuff from a happy place. It's just physically impossible. And the fact that someone's wasting their energy focusing on your race just means that they're losing time, energy, and confidence in their own race. And I really think like it's just such a sad thing for people to kind of get caught in.
And I think especially with me, I kind of can have an even better understanding of it, because I've done, you know, my CBT. I use CBT with clients. And when you actually understand why someone is acting like that, it's very hard to get angry. And, you know, it's not nice, but I know why they're doing it. So I think the biggest problem, and, you know, if anyone that works online, is listening. Like, if you surrender to what people are saying to the stage that you're actually changing your behavior because of what people are saying about you, that's when there's a big problem, because you're moving away from your true self. You're moving away from that identity that you've created for yourself online. So you've got to accept that people will always talk shit about you. Nobody, not everyone is going to like you, but you've got to, stay strong and not let other
Totally.
people's opinions, what they're saying about you, whatever it is, don't let that get into your head, because once you start believing it, you'll move away from the whole thing you've created about yourself online, and then you're going to lose the people that follow you online, and you're going to be inauthentic. Then you're going to be just going back to a false
Exactly.
persona. You're going backwards.
Exactly. I think I keep saying, I think when you stand grounded as who you are, it magnetizes the people who are supposed to be there for you, with you, and stand by you. But it also acts as a repellent, pushing away the people who aren't. And I think it's a very powerful thing. Like, a lot of people struggle to find the people who are right for them, who are going to help them grow. And I'm like, you're never really going to go out and find them if you're not being the person who you need to be, or the person who you are, because you're never going to find or attract the correct tribe or the right people. You're always going to struggle.
Again, if I hadn't made friends that work online, I think I would struggle a lot more, or have struggled a lot more, with trolling or cyberbullying or whatever, because they may not be able to relate, and we might not be able to have a conversation. If I'm having a conversation with, say, my brother about trolling and cyberbullying, my brother isn't on social media. He doesn't understand. So although he can listen, he won't get, he won't get it. So when I have my group of online friends, I've got my offline friends as well, of course, but it's much easier to kind of digest what's happening and process it all. And then once, the other person is like, oh, well, I got, this is what happened to me last week, then it's like, you can have a conversation about the whole irrational behavior and all those forums and everything. You can kind of bring yourself back down to earth and be like, okay, no, this is ridiculous, and you can kind of forget about it. But if you don't have connections, and if you can't talk about it with other people that can relate, I think I would definitely be struggling a lot more with it.
Yeah, it's like I said, just with that whole conversation, as soon as you did it, I was like, that's so powerful what she's done. It was just like, that is why we need to get you on the show. I think there's a lot of people, I've noticed there's a lot of people now who are turning to social media, maybe to build brands, put themselves out there. And I think when you really do start putting yourself out there as a personal brand, you're also putting yourself out there into the firing line to be shot at. So it's kind of one of those, you've got to really build thick skin. You've got to stand grounded who you are, and understand that if you're doing something new, you're building something, you're creating something, you're helping people going out there for change. The people who are sat at home doing nothing with their lives are not going to like that. So if you've got enemies, you're doing something great in the world. In my eyes. Yeah. So Becca, look, like, obviously you took the risk, you made it online. Now, I want to speak about this with you, because there's a second thing which you probably don't know, which I also admired about you when you were out here, and it was your ability to be over here. If you're nomadic and online, it requires a completely up-leveled skill of discipline. Now, with coronavirus being here, there's a lot of people now who are stuck at home. And it's very hard to work when your environment's been shifted, especially when you're in a place like this where you can go out and surf. There's a beach party every single day. There's social gatherings. There's everything's happening. You can go out on paragliders. You can go run up mountains, motorbike rides, the works. You were just incredible, like grounding. It was like, no, I've got to get this done. You were so disciplined, and your work ethic was just insane. Now, you kind of touched up on this early in your story. So for you, like, how do you get like that discipline? Because one of the biggest things that I've found is, through living this way, is you really do have to embed your routines. You have to have a vision that is so inspiring that suddenly going out surfing and doing these things on a Monday can be put to the side because work's more important. Like, what are the things that make you so disciplined and your work so focused? Because you really are. I can remember calling you. It's like, Becca, this is happening. You're like, nope, this has to be done 1 a.m.
Yeah, and I do, like, I do admire myself for my work ethic, but it's genuinely, it's not a chore. I genuinely, absolutely love what I do. And, you know I'm so passionate and, you know, about helping people, about where I'm going with my business. And I think, you know, honestly, I started working online in 2015, and it keeps evolving and evolving, and there's new things, and I'm thinking of more ideas. And I don't think I'll really take a break fully until I'm really set with, you know, everything is going really well. You know, okay, I've got no more ideas for maybe a month or two, but I honestly feel like it's, you know, it's 2020. I still feel like I'm just starting off. So I feel like I have worked so hard to get to where I am now that it's nearly like, it's not like I feel guilty for taking a break, but I don't want to let anything slip, because my drive is, and, you know, my vision are so strong that, and I love working. So I don't really see anything, you know, when I was in Bali, I don't see my life as having any restrictions. If I want to get something done, it's like going back to when I went to uni when I was 17. You know, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. I don't really have that rubber arm. If someone's like, come on, we'll go for a few drinks. Unless I've decided I'm going out that night, I'm not going for drinks. I might come out and not drink, but if I've got work to do, I will not give in. And my dad is a very, very hard worker. He's entrepreneur as well. He's always had the same sort of, well, I basically am a clone of my dad. He continues to come up with new ideas. He never went to uni. He's just continuously adapting, changing, like all the major issues he's had with work. He always, you know, keeps going, and that is definitely what I can see in myself.
It never lets anything crush him. It's just always opportunity. Now we go here.
Yeah, exactly.
Constant.
And until I don't have anyone else to help, which will be never, then I don't see the point in slowing down. I imagine at some point, you know, I might not have as much energy, or I might want to take a break, but I genuinely love what I do. So it's not a thing for me to be like, okay, right, I don't really ever take a day off, to be honest. Like, I will work all through the weekend. I'm not trying to say that I have, you know that I am a social person. I will just make sure things are done so that I can enjoy myself. And I will always be there for clients. Like, clients will message me all sorts of hours, you know, on WhatsApp, whether I'm in Bali or whether I'm here, whether they're in Australia, whatever country they're in. If they're listening, they'll know that and not to a level, you know, I'm always available, but not to a level where I haven't set up boundaries for myself with, you know, sleep or social life. But I am really, really good at responding to people, being there when they need me, because I just genuinely want to help people so much, and I know that I can. And when you see feedback and you see how people's minds are changing, and basically lifestyle changes, and the rewards that come from helping people, it's very hard to be like, I don't need to work this hard anymore, because it's rewarding for me, and it you know, reassures me that what I am doing is right. And I suppose all those years of not knowing what I was good at, you know, struggling with where I was going in life, all the work that I'm doing now brings me back every day to be like, no, you're doing the right thing. Keep going, keep going. So until I don't enjoy work anymore, I won't slow down.
Good. this entire podcast, the thing that keeps like drilling me home is that Steve Jobs about how you connected the dots. But it really sounds like from listening to you, and I think the powerful message that I'd like to jump on here and kind of hit home and maybe reflect back to you is the moment in which you really worked out who you were and what your values were: freedom, connection, service, XYZ. Then that kind of just set the foundations for everything. It set the foundations for your boundaries. It set the foundations for how you're going to show up for the world. It set the foundations for who you're going to serve, how you're going to serve them. So I really think like a big thing in your story is like kind of once you got clear on those values of what really brought you to life and made you you, it kind of slingshotted everything. Obviously work ethic being one of those as well.
Yeah. And I think like even when I'm thinking of it now, you know, the things that really matter to me and make me happy, things like exercise, music, helping people, you know, I was doing those things all along. It was just not in the exact right way. So like, you know, nursing is a helping career. You know, I did music for the first degree. I always exercised throughout, whether it was dancing, weightlifting, swimming. You know, there was a form of exercise, there was a form of helping people, there was a form of music, there was social skills in all of the things I've done. It was just not really the exact right thing. So then when I figured out, okay, you know, it's not like I did an entire 360 of everything. I just took bits and bobs from everything that I did. And really only when I kind of figured out, okay, this makes me happy, this makes me happy, this makes me happy, that's when you'll just follow those and you won't even have time for even one thing that might, you know, play a little on my mind or you distract me, or if I don't have a gut feeling that, okay, yeah, I'll enjoy that, or yeah, let's go with this, I won't even consider it. I don't have time anymore for any distractions because I've wasted so long trying to get where I am now that I kind of just make decisions now, on intuition, and then I'll just.
So glad you said that.
Yeah.
I'm so good to say. I was literally just about to ask that. I was going to say there's, I've been doing a lot of like research into the, like what really is the deepened psychological factor of decisions. Yeah. And it was genuinely the actual study was done on cars. They gave two groups £50,000 and they gave one group time to choose what car they wanted. And they gave this group 3 seconds. They had to go in, choose, decision, buy. And the actual study was those who acted on intuition and bought had more long-term happiness with the car that they bought than the people who weighed up their options and went X, Y, Z. And it throws itself into success, but it also, that's what I wanted to really drill home on you as well, was like, you sound like you've kind of become so intuitive. You're in a position where you listen, you know your non-negotiables through the day that kind of lock you into your intuition as well. That's kind of now the guiding force, which is telling you yes, no, but it's immediate. You're actually listening to it. It's like, nope, this doesn't happen.
Yeah. And also, you know, the 99% of the time, my impulse decisions are right now. But it's also like, okay, well, you know, if it was a wrong decision, then it's fine. I'll just get over it. And usually wrong decision, like we spoke already, ends up being a right decision in the end because I figured out something else. But I think, you know, a good point to raise there is my idea of success 10 years ago is completely different of what my idea of success is now. So my idea of success is never anything to do with money anymore, house, marriage, any of those things that I was trying to achieve 10 years ago. So, you know, as long as I'm happy, I literally don't care. But also having a purpose, you know, if I'm only kind of in a selfish way and I'm only fulfilling everything that I want, then it's not really living a life with purpose, because I need to be working on myself, you know, making sure I'm happy, making sure I'm, you know, healthy, fit, you know, working on my mental health. But they are also all the things that I work on with my clients. So it's like I'm doing everything for me, but my purpose is the same as well. So it's like, you know, if I die tomorrow, I know that my life has had a purpose and I've helped how many people along the way. So I feel like if you're only fulfilling all of your own needs and nobody, you know, you're not helping anyone else, then you're going to end up disappointed again. You've got to be giving as well.
Yeah, that was another reason. I'm always looking into what people are doing. I'm so nosy. But I loved your approach. Now, I obviously was in the fitness industry at one point. We got quite high within the whole fitness molding world. I did goals for other people. It was a very unhappy period for me. But with your stuff, like the big thing for me is like, are people doing things the right way? And I love how you're helping women, which is you really address those foundations of mindset, habits, emotions, and all of the things that really matter so that people actually get the goal and they're happy, they're fulfilled. And more to the point that the goal's actually for them. I'd love to kind of go into this quickly. Like for you, given all of these topics that we've gone into, and I can see how it merges into your service and how you help people. Because it's like, I had to unfold myself to be happy with what I got and the goals that I achieved. I'm going to help you do the same thing for your health, your fat loss, your lifestyle, your emotions. Again, our audience is predominantly female driven, very driven entrepreneurial types, health conscious people who have like constantly looking for ways to get on top of the mental health. Have you got any kind of like tips or things that you do within your own life that help you or you put through to your clients that help them really ground themselves or just better themselves?
I think the main thing is kind of questioning yourself on everything you do. So if you're thinking about, you know, if I have a client that comes to me, they want to lose weight, they want to add muscle in the gym, they've got issues with food, they're an emotional eater, whatever it is, you know, a lot of the kind of attitudes towards losing weight, it's like, right, okay, I'll give someone a fitness plan, I'll give you your meal plan or whatever it is, and then you've kind of just ignored everything about why you actually want to lose weight, why you actually have issues with emotional eating or binge eating. You know, if you don't address those, then you're never going to figure out all the missing links, because anyone can follow a plan, anyone can, you know, do what you tell them to do if it's going to get them to the goal and if the outcome is what they want. But if you don't understand what it is that's driving you towards that, then it's never gonna, the penny's never gonna really drop. So even if you are quite a happy person, you know what your values are, you know what you want to achieve in life, then just write down why, and see, okay, I want XYZ. Why do you want those things? Do they align with your values? Because you'll probably discover some contradictions. You'll probably discover that one thing is, you know, like I was saying with the nursing, I really liked the job, but it didn't align with my values of looking after myself and being healthy. So I couldn't continue with that job because it was going to make me unhappy. So if you're trying to figure out why, you know, your behaviors are a certain way, like why do you have unhealthy behaviors of excessive drinking or smoking or over exercising or whatever it is, then you will kind of break everything down and you'll get to the core of why you're doing everything you're doing, or why you're not doing something that you should be doing. So I guess just questioning yourself, and even just taking 10 minutes now. This is why I developed the free mindset course during lockdown, because
This is the mindset 2.0 that I keep seeing. Look, if any of our guys want to get on it, just, you know what I mean, feel free if it can help them, and you're that person.
It's actually free, I made that because I could see people struggling a lot during the lockdown. And actually I actually made it. Everything I do is actually for me, and then it's passed on to others. So I could see people were struggling. I just wanted people to have, just stop for 10 minutes and analyze. Even just ask yourself, am I happy? And what is happy to you? So yeah, I am happy, but what is happiness to you? How do you define happiness? Because happiness to me, success to me, wealth to me is not ever going to be the same as someone else's. Like, everyone's perception of everything is different. So no two people will have the same, will perceive one problem, one idea of success as the same. So you've got to ask yourself and stop comparing yourself to what someone else's success will be, or looking at someone else's life being like, I want that. And if you want that, whatever that is, why do you want it, and how are you going to get there? Because if you kind of look at where you want to be without looking at where you are, then you're going to be looking at, living in your kind of, looking at your lack. You're going to be looking at all the things that you don't have, instead of looking at, right, yeah, I'm not happy right now, or I'm kind of nearly happy, but I'd like to have this, this, and this. And rather looking at those things, just look at what you have right now in front of you, and okay, how can I work with this, and form the steps to getting where you want to be.
There's so many things I can dive in on this. So the thing there, what you were mentioning with the lack, when someone's operating from lack and they're using the whole I want language, you can't operate inspirationally and productively through fear. And if you're in that scarce, lacking mentality, it's a very hard place to move from. So I think what you just said is so important, that you have to ground the why, always anchor the emotion onto a goal where it's pulling you, and you're not being pushed from pain, you're being pulled through the goal. I think that's such a huge thing. The other thing that I love about what you're doing is, I don't know if you know the stats on this, it could be worth, so think of this, right? Out of everyone who sets a goal, only 3 to 5% of people who write down a goal achieve it. That is madness. The world has got so much information. There's so many coaches. There's so many books out there. But why can we not do it? And the reason being is it's what you're addressing. It's in people's mindsets. But the thing that you lock down on there, it's the questions that they're asking themselves. And I think when you change the questions you're asking about yourself, like, why have I not got this? It's more to the point, why do I really want this? Yeah. You can really change your reality from the questions you're asking. So
yeah, and that's what awesome. I did with the first course. It's all about, okay, just getting everything out of your head, figuring out if you are happy or not, defining what happiness is, what behaviors, what thoughts, what emotions are coming about that are not aligning with what you want. And then now for the next group of people, or what the second course I'm building is, okay, you've realized you've got this problem. And I've also done a whole module on problems and goals being the same thing, because often people see problems as being a negative thing, whereas I'm like, right, you've got a problem, your goal now is to solve the problem.
It's a growing opportunity. It's time to grow.
So the next stage is planning and implementing, because obviously everyone knows, if you're just thinking of these goals, your dreams, and you're just thinking, and there's no plan to get there, then you'll never get there. Like you just said, your goals will never be achieved. But what people don't put in the plan is what happens when it doesn't work out. The one route you had. You've got to have 4 or 5 different routes for getting there, and expecting that things will probably go wrong. If they don't go wrong, something's not right there. So how to get over setbacks, try a different thing. If that doesn't work, try a different thing, because you're going to be building on your skills for resilience and problem solving and stuff like that. And that's good if it doesn't work out the first time, because like it's worked for me, you'll come up with other ways. So if you don't have your plan there, then you're just going to have written down these goals. And like some of them I imagine are amazing, some ideas, business ideas, personal goals, whatever they are. But you've got to set deadlines and have small steps of getting there. Otherwise they'll just stay on the paper the whole time, or the vision board, or whatever it is. You'll just be looking at it, but nothing will be happening.
I always love the analogy you've got to grow in them. I think a lot of people, especially in the fitness world, because people usually come to fitness for the first, it's like, this is my first port of change. I'm going to work on myself here, and then I'm going to go and ditch this dickhead boyfriend. I'm going to go and leave my job. It's like the first port where they get their confidence. And I think when people realize that progress is never linear, it starts by maybe you've got to get up this step and grow into this person. And then you've got to go to this bit, then grow into this person. And through each thing is exactly what you said, is like the end point might not change, like can always stay the same, but who you are and who you've become and the skills and the path it always does change. Same in business, same in personal performance. But Becca, look, I totally want to respect your time. I understandably we've got like 5-10 minutes or so, but we always round up on these questions, and I love to get these through because I always love it when we delve into people's stories and kind of thread it in with what they do. Now, with you as you are right now, if you were to be able to kind of like, let's do it this way. If you were to close your eyes and think of a point in time when you were young and lost. So it could be like a period when you were kind of like at a bit of a breaking point. And Becca now, with all of her wisdom, all of what she's done, she spoke about, she's helped thousands of people. You can walk into that picture, grab the hands of the younger version of yourself. You can look yourself dead in the eye and give one piece of life advice to help that version of yourself. What would you say?
I think I would say follow what makes you happy, even if it's even if you're the only person that thinks that it's the right thing to do, even if everyone is telling you no. If it actually makes you happy, just go with it and then see what happens, because the other route is not so good, and that's what will lead to your self-esteem being knocked and everything, because you're trying to follow the opposite of actually what your gut is telling you. So that's probably the main bit, I think, the main piece of it. Yeah, that is what I tell myself. I tell everyone when I was 17 to just let me figure it out on my own.
Yeah. Live dangerous and free. Don't go into a safe prison.
Yeah.
Becca, final question, mate. So for you, given what you do, what does it mean to you to be able to lead a nourished life?
I think you've got to have, you've got to have all of the elements, which include looking after your body with exercise and activity. Doesn't have to be the gym, just activity, looking after your body, feeding yourself properly, which also, means looking after yourself party-wise too, because that's going to come into your social life. Not overdoing it, eating well most of the time, and then eating junk whenever you want, have a few drinks. And then obviously your mind. Like if people actually just spent 1% of the time they spend in the gym or doing their meal prep or whatever it is on their head, so many other things would fall into place. And I honestly believe that you cannot achieve optimal health and wellness unless you're focusing on all three. And a large part of my life over the last couple of years has been pretty much mindset only, because I already had those habits of training, exercising and eating well in place. And what's brought me to work a lot more on my own mind is just realizing, trying to get to the core of who I am, figure out who you are, figure out what you want in life, and then put a little plan in place to get there. And just look after yourself. Make sure that you're looking after your head as much as you're looking after your body.
Totally agree. Becca, look, I want to acknowledge you before I round this up. Like, I think you're an incredible person. I think you're a unicorn when it comes down to strength and belief, and it really does show. One of the highlights of my time over here was when me and you were kind of like having little confidence battles, trying to put a pool cue triangle on a bouncer's head in a nightclub.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. But look, I think it's incredible. Where can people find you? Where can people get involved with your stuff? Where can people see more of who you are and what you're doing? And more of the tie-dye jumpers.
Yeah, mostly Instagram for now, at Becca Gillen. If you want to get me on email, beccagillen.com. I've started TikTok. That'll be quite interesting when I come out with some videos there.
Oh, God.
But mostly Instagram is where you'll find me, and my email and stuff is on there on my website.
Amazing. Becca, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much.